Welcome to lecture 5 of the NPTEL course Urban Governance and Development Management. In last lecture we discussed about the legislative provisions for the urban governance, where we discussed the various provisions in the Municipal Act and the other related acts. We have seen that Municipal Act is the mother act under this government, state government, which gives the overall legal and legislative framework for working of the urban local bodies. So, today we will see that within that framework what are the interfaces between the urban local bodies and the other organizations. This is very important because in the urban governance basically organization, local government and the municipality as an organization, they have to interact with various types of organization. It may be various higher level of organizations, it can be lower level of organizations. So, it is very important to know the categories, classifications, hierarchies, and most importantly the municipality's role on the interface of the various with the various agencies. So, let us see what are those interface areas. So, today we will discuss the various types of interface for urban local bodies, horizontal, vertical. We will discuss the categories of intergovernmental interfaces, that is between urban local bodies and the higher governmental organizations, state government and the central government. We will also see that apart from the government organizations, there could be other organizations who are also working in the urban sector, with whom urban local bodies need to interact time to time, and also intra-governmental or intra-organizational, which is basically within the municipality or within the urban local bodies interactions. So, let us start with the type of interfaces. As you know that we have three tiers of government, namely central government, state, and local government, which is our subject. We are calling it as urban local bodies in general, and to be specific municipal corporation or municipal council or Nagar Panchayat. So, at every level there are various types of organizations which are working. For example, at the central level there could be some set of organization, at the state level there could be some level of organization. So, this is a vertical arrangement of the organizations. So, this we are calling it as a vertical arrangement of various organizations. At the same time, there could be some organizations who are not higher in terms of hierarchy than the urban local bodies, but who are very important for day to day work of a urban local government. For example, there could be organizations like various community based organizations, there could be some para municipal organization, so this we are calling as a horizontal interaction between the organizations. Apart from this vertical and horizontal interfaces, if we classify the organizations as per the category, there could be one set of organizations which are basically government organization. So, that could be central government and its related ministry and department, state government. So, these are basically the interactions within the government sector. So, that is called governmental organization. Apart from that, there could be other organizations which are not governmental, but there may be other organization, for example funding agency, etc. So, those could be organizational. Okay. And apart from this inter and intergovernmental and inter-organizational, there could be interactions within the urban local bodies, that is we are that particular interaction within the organizations are called as intra organization, okay, interface. So, this variety of interfaces actually makes a urban local body effective and dynamic in their day to day activities. So, let us see one by one a little bit more details, and then we will come to the role of the urban local body for each type of interfaces. So, let us start with the intergovernmental. As we have told you that we have central, state and ULB, these three level of governance. So, first are second and local government. So, at the central level there are concerned ministry or department, that is the mother department or ministry which is responsible for all the programs and schemes or the budget funding for the urban local bodies and the urban development related activities. For example, for this case Ministry of Urban Development, Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation, currently these two ministries are merged together with Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So, this ministry will act as the mother organization which need to be referred time to time by the urban local bodies. Apart from that, there are few other organizations which we call as PSU, like there could be PSUs like HUDCO. The interface with the organizations like HUDCO or National Building Organization, National Housing Bank, BMTPC. So, these are all organizations, PSUs and the organizations under the department which interacts with the urban local bodies and urban government time to time. And then we come to the state government. In the state government we have concerned department like municipal affairs or urban affairs. In some of the states it is called urban affairs, or it can be sometimes termed as urban development department or urban administration department. So, whatever is the name, please you can check with your state government. So, that particular department will be the main organizations will be interacting with urban local bodies. Apart from that, there are organizations like parastatal. Parastatals are state level organizations. We are working at the state level under some department, but in a thematic areas. For example, there could be housing board, there could be PWD who makes bridges and roads and water supply, all this. There could be electricity department, fire service, and also at the state level when we make district planning committee, metropolitan planning committees. So, various committees are there and commissions. Like at the state level we have State Information Commissioner and State Information Commission is set up. So, those commissions are also important and committees are also important for time to time streamlining of the thematic works. For example, in recent times there is Real Estate and Regulation Act. Every state government is mandated to frame a real estate regulatory authority. So, those kind of authority will also act as a state level organizations which need to be referred time to time with the urban local bodies. That is very important. And we have stated that at the ministry department or at the central level there are ministry, department, PSU. Also in the central level there could be commission committees, okay. Then policy or planning institute, for example Niti Aayog. So, these kind of organizations are there at central level and state level. So, these all together works as intergovernmental interactions between the government at the central level, state level and local body level. Now, let us see the inter-organizational, if this is the ULB, urban local bodies or urban local government, whatever you say, there could be other series of organizations which need to be consulted or interacted during their development process in the urban areas. For example, there could be funding agencies other than the government. For example, there could be World Bank, there could be Asian Development Bank, there could be international organizations, for example UN Habitat. UNESCO. Similarly, there could be various organizations who are working at the international level and also national level. For example, there could be some independent international national NGOs which are also working as an independent organization, or it can be a academia and research institutions like IIT Roorkee or any IIT and our School of Planning and Architecture, who also time to time collaborate with urban local bodies at the state level and the central level, also at the local level. So, that is another type of regular interactions we need to have, that is called inter-organizational, that is other than the government organizations. So, let us have how these, so this organization, this arrangement of the interactions are basically vertical in nature in terms of hierarchy. So, let us see how these vertical communications and the interactions are there. We have talked about the urban local bodies. Now, if you see the central government through the Niti Aayog, the Finance Commission and the central departments, basically the planning and policy, central schemes and grants, these three things flows through these three organizations to the state government, and state government mobilizes all this further towards the urban local bodies through the state planning body, through DPC and MPC, district planning committee and metropolitan planning committee, and also by the state department like UD, municipal affairs, as we have discussed. So, state schemes also can be added with this, apart from the central scheme, you can add the central scheme also here. So, this is the interface level 1, which is basically topmost layer of the interface, and this is the interface level 2, which is required for the urban local bodies. So, this is the vertical arrangement of the interfaces which is required for any urban local bodies, it may be corporation, it may be municipalities or Nagar Panchayat. Now, let us see that what are the interactions at the horizontal level. So, in the horizontal level there are number of organizations, for example, there are number of community organizations, there could be banks, there could be professional organizations, for example, doctors association, architects association, engineers association, there could be businessmen's organizations, okay. There could be organizations like shopkeepers associations. So, all these groups are basically working around the urban local bodies and in urban local bodies, which makes a horizontal kind of interactions with whom they need to interact time to time and work. Apart from that, there could be NGO which are working at the urban local bodies level or a very area level. There could be NGOs and local clubs and neighborhood level committees and the clubs, they also act as a horizontal interface with the urban local bodies. Some of the organizations are directly working under the urban local bodies, and some of the organizations they are working as a partner. There could be similarly can be academic institution, cultural institution, so these are also adding a different dimension of the interfaces at the horizontal level. So, this horizontal and vertical interfaces, intergovernmental, interorganizational and intra organizational interfaces, they act together to make the urban local bodies dynamic. So, let us see what are the interfaces required within the organizations. Whatever we have discussed so far, that is the interface required with between the urban local bodies and the other organizations. Now, within urban local bodies as organization, there are also some sub organization and sub component with whom also they need to time interact. So, under this category, the first organization or first group which will come, that is the ward committee. If it is a large enough, it can be called as a borough committee also if the urban local bodies is very large. Last day we in last few lectures we mentioned that ward committees and borough committees are the committees made at the local level, which actually takes the developmental decision, and it is headed by the councillor, which is a elected representative. So, this is a constitutional body or legislative body which is working in integration with urban local bodies. Apart from the ward level committee, there can be committees like neighborhood committee or neighborhood groups, which are formed under the scheme SJ SROI. So, that we will discuss little I mean more details in further lectures. So, there could be organizations like that. Apart from that, there are standing committees, there are various functionaries and sections within urban local bodies. So, those are the micro departments or the sections which also need to be interacted time to time with the organizations as a whole. So, having said that, let us also see that what is the role of a urban local body or a the board or the local government as a whole in this whole business or whole interaction with the organizations, government or non-government, with the organizations which are placed horizontally or vertically. So, let us see that. So, here in this chart we have shown the interfaces, vertical interfaces and horizontal interfaces, which we have just discussed in the last few slides. So, in the vertical interfaces we have told that state government department, directorate, state planning boards, DPC, MPC and parastatals, these are there. So, in this case the role of the municipality will be represent, advocacy and compliance. Let me elaborate this little bit. Represent means if you have a project and if you want to get a funding for that project and you want to deliver that at the central level or the state level, you need to represent your case through the appropriate documents, project reports, etc. And not only represent, at times you have to advocate the case to get the funding, to get the approval of the projects. And not only that, you have to comply all the rules, regulation, mandates for the projects and the schemes. Those who are working under Smart City Mission, those who are working under Amrut Mission or any other missions, all the guidelines, norms, standards, benchmarks, guidelines has to be followed and complied. So, that is the role of a urban local body when they are interacting vertically with the central and the state government organization. For the external funding agencies like Asian Development Bank or World Bank or UN Habitat, their job is to represent again and to collaborate, because unless the case, unless the project or unless the situation is not represented, they will not get the appropriate funding or appropriate assistance. So, that is the role with the other organization. At the horizontal level, there are other urban local bodies, panchayats, which panchayat, municipal corporation, public finance institutions within the government level. For them, it is required to make a collaboration, team building and represent. Let me elaborate you why collaboration, team building and representation is also required. Suppose few municipalities or urban local bodies are situated in a cluster and they are going to plan to set up a large water treatment plant together as a cluster, because maybe each and every local bodies cannot afford a large infrastructure like water treatment plant or sewerage treatment plant. In that case, they need to interact with the neighboring municipalities, panchayats, and they have to make a plan together, so that they can propose the plan, they can represent the plan in appropriate authority and get funding, and in the process all of them will get benefited. Similarly, take a case example of the urban flooding or drainage. In recent times in India, we have seen that various cities are being flooded due to excessive rain, and it is creating massive casualty and havoc problem. Now, the drainage is such a problem, it cannot be resolved only at the local geographical level, because water does not come only from the local level, water can come any point near about which is higher than that particular level. So, if the drainage problem has to be solved, every drainage basin or large area has to be worked out. For this reason, if you are sitting or you are working in a particular urban areas, to make a drainage plan, you need to work with the other local organizations which are situated in that locality or within that region, and also work with the similar organizations who are working in the river basin management or similar activities. Then only you can make a proper planning for that. So, in the horizontal level, your job will be collaboration, team building, and also represent your case. If it is a non-governmental organization and it is a horizontal interface like NGOs, community based organizations, academia, your role will be partnership. Why partnership? Like for example, non-governmental organization, community based organization, these are their role are complementary to urban local bodies or the urban local government. There are some job where they are having their own expertise. So, urban local government has to identify that who are the organizations who are working at the local level, at the grassroots level, and have their own expertise, and who can be adopted or who can be involved in the process as a partner, as a member, as a friend. So, they can complement the municipality's job or urban local body's job. So, here your role is partnership, and in some cases you need also monitoring, because there are cases that you make partnership, but your partner doesn't perform. So, in that case you need to monitor their work progress, and also it is not sufficient, you have to make a shared learning framework, so that whatever you do with the partnership, you get a learning and you implement all those learning in the successive programs and projects. Then let us see what are the interfaces at the horizontal and vertical level. Now, in the last slide we discussed horizontal vertical level only for the intergovernmental and interorganizational. Now, we see that what is the intragovernmental, that is within the government organization. So, I told you that within a urban local government, the board, standing committee, ward committee, planning committee, municipal office, ward offices, these are all organizations or the component or the sections working at the local level. So, for them it is important to make a leadership example, planning and policy, appropriate decision making. Each and every time you make a project, you make any decision on the local level, mobilize them for doing a particular job, mobilize by giving inspiration, mobilize by giving the seed money, anything can be done, and execute the project or facilitate them to execute the project. And not only that, you have to keep a monitoring to check and balance of the progress. So, this is the role what you are doing within your ULB or organizations. Similarly, there could be other organizations which is not exactly part of the ULB, but which is working within the ULB umbrella. For example, self-help groups, contractors, community organizations, NGOs, CBOs, etc., etc. So, for them your job will be to facilitate them for doing a particular job, enabling them by giving tools, techniques, guidelines, training, sometimes funding, involve them in the overall development project, empower them by giving the legal tools, by giving them the allowance, approval, everything, and also keep a transparent and accountable framework, so that you can transfer the service of the urban local government in a transparent and accountable manner to the citizens of that particular local area. So, in this way you can interact with various types of organizations, and you can develop best out of whatever you have in your local area in terms of performance. You can get best from all those organizations for your citizens. So, having said that, let us summarize today's lecture. Today we discussed the type of organizations, vertical and horizontal, these two, and then we also discussed inter-government and inter-organizational, and also we discussed intra-government and intra-organizational. And your role is to be remembered. Your role when you are interacting with the organizations which are higher in the hierarchy, your role will be represent, your role will be to advocate, your role will be to compliance. And whenever you are working within your setup with the various kinds of organization within your setup and other non-governmental organization, your role will be to make partnership, monitoring, check and balance, maintaining transparency and accountability, and also to lead properly so that they can get an example. So, these are your role at the urban local bodies level. So, having said that, we conclude this lecture. We quickly have a weekly summary what we discussed in last 4 lecture, because every week you are supposed to give some assignments and questions. So, this week earlier 4 lectures we discussed introduction of urbanization, we discussed basic terminologies like what is urban, city, mega city, metro city, the difference between the urban agglomeration, metropolitan area, outgrowth, etc., etc. The basic concept we discussed in this section. In the second lecture we discussed the introduction to urban governance, the basic concept, the concepts and definition of the urban governance, the value system, and the basic dimensions of the urban governance. The constitutional provision, in the third lecture we discussed basically 73rd constitutional amendment which came in 1992, which gave the urban local bodies as a it empowered urban local bodies as the third tier government, and not only that, it has given 18 jobs to be performed at the local level. So, and in addition to that, the district planning committee and a metropolitan planning committee will be in charge of doing the planning at the regional and the larger scale. In the last lecture we that is the last day's lecture, we discussed the legislative provision, that is the provision at the Municipal Act regarding the urban local bodies, and today we discussed the various kinds of relations and the interfaces between the urban local bodies and the other organizations. It can be the higher level organizations or it can be the horizontal organizations. So, with this we conclude the week 1, and I thank you for attending this lecture. Next day we discuss the we start the discussion on the very important concepts in the urban local governments like people and community, land, etc., etc. So, next day we will start with people and community. So, thank you very much for attending this lecture.